What's up, ladies and gents in Cyberland? This is Chris coming to you with another video from RGMF, and today I'm going to be doing a review on Green Day's Nimrod. So, even though Insomniac is my favorite album, it will always be my favorite album, this was the album that got me into the band. I remember this was around, I think, 97. I was already on my way starting Poly and Long Beach Poly. And around that time, they still had this thing called The Box. It was on people who had cable, and what you could do is order videos. And, you know, you pay $3 or $4, you call it in, and then you watch a video, whatever song you want to listen to. And I never did it. It just wasn't my thing. But occasionally I would come across it. And every so often I would see this band that was just in this, I guess you could say, a bar, and it kind of looked like something out of the 1910s, the 1920s. I wouldn't say the 30s. And they would just like play like really hard, and then his eyes were all big and stuff, and I kept hearing this chorus over and over, troubled times, you know, I cannot lie, I'm off the wagon, I'm hitching a ride. And I'm just like, whatever, you know, it's like, this doesn't look like something that interests me. And I just kept seeing it, like, every so often. And I was like, you know what, I don't think my mom's gonna trip, you know, it's $3. If I don't like it, you know, and I had an allowance, I'll give her the money. Dropping my ring. I think, yeah, I listened to it, or I watched the video, and I was like, okay, when it starts out, you get this little violin thing going, and then all of a sudden, and then you just start hearing the band playing, but you hear, at the time, you know, as a guitarist now, I know he was palm muting, but at the time, it's like, I didn't really hear the guitar, just bass and drum. And then all of a sudden, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, and all of a sudden, you know, starts playing the guitar. I'm like, okay, this is different for me. I like the groove. I like what's going on in the video, and goes back to no guitar. Plays the song, you know, keeps singing and stuff, and then plays the song, and then that's when the chorus comes. I was like, oh, okay. And I was like, no, this is pretty good. I like this, you know. And then the part that really got my attention was when they went into the breakdown, if you want to call it that, where it was just like fully abrasive, just strumming really fast, and Trey is just hitting the drums all over the place, and Mike is just hitting the bass, and everything's going crazy in the background and stuff in the video. And at that point I was like, I gotta know more about this band because I really like this song. And Christmas was coming up, and me and my cousin, what we would do is we would buy each other gifts because, you know, our parents didn't want us spending money on them. So we'd buy each other gifts. I would get her something, and I would say, oh, okay, get me this and give me that. And one of the things I got that Christmas was Green Day's Nimrod album. I don't think I waited for Christmas to listen to it, though. I think we kind of came to the conclusion, we're like, we're not going to wait to have our gifts. Let's just do it now. So I listened to the album, and Nimrod, and right away the first song kicks in, Nice Guys Finish Last, is just boom, straight punk rock, gets straight to the point. First lyrics is Nice Guys Finish Last, and you're running out of gas. And I was just like, okay, this is it wasn't something I was used to just yet, you know, because I wasn't fully immersed into the band's music or anything, or a lot of bands at that time. And I just, over time, I remember I was at my grandparents' house, and I stayed up later than I normally would, and I listened to the album front to back. And at first, there were some songs I really didn't care for. I don't think I liked Platypus at first, and I don't think I cared for Take Back. I felt, for my taste at that time, I felt they were just too abrasive. Lo and behold, you know, 20 years later, I love every single track on that album. Are you kidding me? Like, Platypus especially. So, you know, it's a very special album. It's one of my top 5 for Green Day, and I don't rank it below my top 5, but it's hard now because they have like so many freaking albums, so it's hard to sometimes say Insomniac is one thing, but Nimrod and every album after that, it's hard sometimes because sometimes they'll come out with another album and it's like, I like it just as much, but do I want to put Nimrod below that or do I want to put Nimrod above that? It's just weird. With that album, we saw after the Insomniac breakdown and taking a break, the band went back into the studio, and lo and behold, I did not know this. I thought Billy would normally write his stuff outside the studio, and I remember watching a video, I think it was about when they were making American Idiot, and he said it was the first and last time he would do it, that he went into the studio and recorded while in the studio. And he said that was the last time he'd ever do that, and he would have demos and stuff ready before he went to the studio. And I think probably because maybe some stuff wasn't that good at the time, because I forgot how many songs was recorded for Nimrod, and it was probably I think he said 40 or 50, maybe more, and only ended up being 18 tracks. And I think future reference, don't do that again. Have as many songs, but come in with stuff already ready, as opposed to having to literally record from scratch in the studio, because that costs money. And and then mind you, within 2 years, that's when the whole Napster thing is going to kick off, and I'll get into that later with other albums that I bought during that time. So, it was a different album. You still had the punk rock of Insomniac and Dookie and 1039 Kerplunk. However, you had a lot more changes. Like Hitchin' a Ride was a different song. Redundant was a different song. I would say because of the speed, there wasn't songs like that at the time. There wasn't more introspective, personal stuff that Billy was writing about, in my opinion. There was he kind of had that with Dookie a little bit, and a little bit of Insomniac, more so just maybe bad relationship breakdown. But this one was more reflective of being a parent, being a husband, trying to live with another individual who has just as many good ideas as you, and you guys would conflict, and you feel like maybe the love is gone, there's no love there, and it's not that, it's just you guys are growing older together, and sometimes you're not always going to like the person you're with. I'm sure all of us can relate to being in a relationship. We don't always like our boyfriend or husband or our wife or our boyfriend or our girlfriend. We do not always like them. That's just the way it is. You also had songs like Worry Rock, which was a different approach. And then Last Ride In. Last Ride In is probably the song that really stuck out because it wasn't a song. It was just an instrumental. That's the first time they put an instrumental on an album, which I felt when I listened to it for a while. I mean, for a couple years, it's one of those songs. I was like, whatever. I'll listen to it, but I don't really care for it. Now I have a lot more respect for it because they've only done one other instrumental, that was Espionage for Austin Powers 2. But with Last Ride In, I think it's very special because they were willing to take chances to try different things. I can respect them for that. I would never like them, or any of the bands I like, I would never like them to recreate another album that they've already done. Maybe say we're going to grab elements from other albums, and I get that because if you haven't played in a while, you want to come back to certain things of that, but never say, let's make another Basket Case, literally, or let's make another Brain Stew, or a 2,000 Light Years Away. I don't want to hear that. It happened at its time, it had its moment, and still play it, of course, live, but move forward. So, and then the other song that a lot of people will know from this time, they won't, maybe not huge fans, but Time of Your Life. Even though what's funny is when people think of Time of Your Life, they think, oh, it's celebration, it's good times, and you forget the part that's in front of Time of Your Life. It says good riddance. This is not a happy song. It's kind of like a big fuck you in a way to the person you're no longer with, but almost in a nice way of saying it, not being totally abrasive. But it's not a pleasant song. It's a good song. I like the song. However, I think the misconception for a lot of people is they really think it's something. It's a happy moment, and it's a very wonderful song in regards to it relates to so many people, and it's good if you get a happy moment from the song, but if you read the lyrics, it's not speaking something positive. I don't know, maybe I'm thinking too much into it, maybe not, but even when I first heard the song, I knew if you take away the strings and you take away the guitar and stuff and how it flows, just listen to the lyrics and you tell me if that sounds like that's something happy to talk about. So, the other thing about an honorable mention for the album is, I would say, two songs that I felt should have been on this album that weren't, and we don't know how many songs were supposed to be on the album and weren't, but Desensitized and Suffocate. So Desensitized gives a little bit of, it kind of gives like a Brain Stew type of vibe to it, but not, it does a riff real quick and turns off, right? It just keeps doing that. Play it off, play it off, play it off kind of thing. But then the chorus, of course, is different from how Brain Stew is written and the way it goes. I remember at the time, I think my Nimrod CD got scratched and I was really pissed. And I don't like replacing my media unless it's something that happens. But when somebody damages my stuff, I don't really care for that too much. So at the time, I wanted to replace it. And I was getting into Band One More, and I found out that they had the album, that song which I had heard, it was on Nimrod. I was like, well, you know what, I'm going to get that song, because at the time we don't have MP3s just yet. You can't rip stuff yet. You have CDs, that's how you listen to your music, or if you had a record player, but I didn't have a record player. So I'm like, you know, I want to listen to this song in my car when I got to drive places, or if I'm doing something, I want to listen to the song. So ripping didn't start just yet. And for young people, ripping is copying a CD and you know, listening to it, you know, because at the time it wasn't streaming or MP3s and all that. It's, you had a CD, you put it in a CD burner, you copy the files, and you do what you want with it. So I ordered it from Japan, and it was funny, I had the lyrics in English and I had the lyrics in Japanese. It's kind of interesting. But Desensitized was on there, and yeah. And to this day, I think Green Day, I don't think Green Day's ever performed it live. I really think they should. I think a lot of fans really, that's one of those top B-side songs in a way that people would really love to hear them play if they did. And the other song was Suffocate. Suffocate, I don't think really fits on the album too much, but I think if they maybe rework the tracks, maybe it could go on there. It's also, I just like the groove of it. I just like how the playing goes. I like the lyrics and stuff. But I can see why maybe that one wouldn't be on there. But Desensitized for sure should have been on Nimrod. Are there any songs on the album I don't like? No. There's no songs on the album. I mean, when I first heard it at the time, yeah, I didn't really care for Platypus and Take Back. But actually, I love every single track on the album. And the funny thing is, Platypus is about a person who talked bad about the band. I forget his name, but he's dead. And they wrote another song about him too. Haha, you're dead. But yeah, and then with Nimrod, I think we could see that the band was taking huge steps as compared from Dookie to Insomniac. From Insomniac to Nimrod, there was huge steps. And some of those steps would correlate over into Warning later too, because I think if a lot of people really acted negatively to Time of Your Life, I don't think some of the songs on Warning would have even happened. I think that opened up another broader spectrum of what their fans would be open to listen to. Because let's be honest, you make music for yourself, but you don't fully make music for yourself and alienate your fan base. Yes. Some people may not like stuff that you're coming out with here or there, but they understand that you have to grow and you have to progress. And if they can't move forward with that, you know, it is what it is. Because like I talked about Insomniac, I'm pretty sure there's people that don't like American Idiot moving forward. And there's people that like American Idiot moving forward and don't like Nimrod or anything that came before it. They like Dookie because that's the popular album, but they don't like 1039 Kerplunk, Insomniac, or Nimrod, or Warning. That's just the way it is. So my top, for my rating for the album, I would give it 5 out of 5. Yes, sirs. And then for my top 5 tracks, Hitchin' a Ride, Nice Guys Finish Last, The Grouch, Redundant, and Reject. Now, out of all the songs I talked about, except, and I mentioned on my Insomniac video I would talk about this, so Reject. Reject is pretty much the response of what Insomniac did, because what happened was there was a parent who bought Insomniac and assumed that it would be very similar to Dookie, and it wasn't. She did not care for the album, and she sent the band a disparaging letter about it, and Billy saw it, and I think the rest of the band saw it, but Billy responded and called her out on it, and some of the stuff he said in the letter ended up forming to become the song Reject. And I really like that song because not even if it's just addressing people with how they felt about Insomniac, but just people in general. It's like, I'm going to do things that makes me happy. I'm not going to do things that make you happy, because you're going to do things that make you happy, right? So why is it a problem when I do it, you know? And then the other song would get an honorable mention, but not because it's my top 5, Platypus. And this is a shout out to Warner. At this time, you guys, record labels were giving albums parental advisory stickers and all that stuff. And to this day, how did you guys drop the ball on this album? Like literally, or Reprise. How did you drop the ball on this? Because yeah, I get Dookie and Insomniac, you know, had some vulgarity too, but Nimrod was like seriously. I question how 21st Century and AI got a parental advisory sticker and Nimrod didn't. Because Nice Guys Finish Last, Hitchin' a Ride, The Grouch, Platypus especially, Take Back Platypus and Grouch. Those 3 songs in themselves. How did this album not get a parental advisory sticker? I mean, seriously. Like, even the later stuff. Maybe it's just the times have changed, and if you just say one bad word, parental advisory sticker. But how did you guys miss this one? I mean, it is what it is. But I just, to this day, I really scratch my head with that one. How did that even happen? So, with that being said, you know, if you're looking for them to be not as abrasive as Insomniac, but also looking for some type of change that was starting to bubble at the surface for with them, you can get that from Nimrod. You're going to get a lot of different avenues and flavors in the album. It's not a full it's a punk rock album, but it's not a full blown just abrasive. You're going to have shifts in how the music's being played and just overall what's going on. So with that being said, let's we gotta cue the music.